Hello, everybody. It's me, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. It's Saturday. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Time for episode 4 of the Bigfoot Classics. You guys love these stories. I love doing these classics. I've got a short one and then a normal length video here for you guys. First one, 1840 is the time period. Elkhana Walker, an excerpt from the diary. And then 1955, William Rowe. So two great classics. I love these classics. I hope you do too. Later on today or tomorrow, I'll be putting out another video regarding my emailer or subscriber encounters. So I'll be looking forward to that. This past Thursday, I had a great show with Alex Pedikov, Coastal Alaskan Sasquatch joined me on the show along with Krista. If you haven't seen it yet, you'll love it. Great interview. Go check it out. Subscribe. Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Of course, on YouTube. The Diary of Elkhana Walker. If we are to believe the Diary of Elkhana Walker, pioneer, American missionary in Washington State to the Spokane Indians, a written passage from the diary. Bear with me if I trouble you with a little of their superstitions. They believe in a race of giants, which inhabit a certain mountain off to the west of us. This mountain is covered with perpetual snow. They, the creatures, inhabit the snow peaks. They hunt and do all their work at night. They are men stealers. They come to the people's lodges at night when the people are asleep and take them and put them under their skins into their place of abode without even waking. Their track is 1.5 feet long. They steal salmon from Indian nets and eat them raw, as the bears do. If the people are awake, they always know when they are coming very near by their strong smell that is almost intolerable. It is not uncommon for them to come up in the night and give 3 whistles, and then the stones began to hit their houses. Excerpt, Jury, 1976. Reverend Walker's established mission was approximately located 25 miles northwest of present-day Spokane, Washington. His diary and entry of the snow peak to the west could be one of several peaks in the Cascade Range, such as Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, Mount Adams, or Mount St. Helens, or possibly he could have meant Mount Hood on the Oregon side of the Columbia River. But Sasquatch researchers generally believe the missionary was referring to Mount St. Helens, which has always carried legends of Sasquatches, ape-like men, and of course, the 1924 story of Fred Beck in Ape Canyon. Missionary Walker also penned the pre-Civil War references to this beautiful Mount Helens, as a place where the white man and the Indians never frequented, and who assert it is uninhabited by a race of beings of a different species, who are cannibals and whom they hold in great dread. In these private writings, it was declared the Indians called these different beings Seatkos or Celatics. Words he thought at the time of his writings possibly referred to renegade or outcast Indians banished from tribal villages, and not the elusive timber giant. Of this referral point, we can be sure his diaries were the first to make mention of this. Again, that was from the Diary of Elkhana Walker. I'd like to get more information on this diary, and I'm sure that I will be back reporting on that again for you guys. So I hope you like that little excerpt. This one here takes place in Michigan. William Rowe's affidavit of an alleged Bigfoot. Ever since I was a small boy back in the forest of Michigan, I have studied the lives and habits of wild animals. Later, when I supported my family in northern Alberta by hunting and trapping, I spent many hours just observing wild things. They fascinated me, but the most incredible experience I had ever had with a wild creature occurred near a little town called Tite, Yon Cache, British Columbia, about 80 miles west of Jasper, Alberta. I had been working on the highway near Tite Jean Cache for about 2 years. In October 1955, I decided to climb 5 miles up the Mika Mountain to an old deserted mine, just for something to do. I came in sight of the mine about 3 o'clock in the afternoon after an easy climb. I had just come out of a patch of low brush into a clearing when I saw what I thought was a grizzly bear in the bush on the other side. I had shot a grizzly bear near that spot the year before. This was only about 75 yards away, but I didn't want to shoot it, for I had no way of getting out to it. So I sat down on a small rock and watched, my rifle in my hand. I could see part of the animal's head and the top of one shoulder. A moment later, it raised up and stepped out into the opening. Then I saw it was not a bear. This, to be the best of my recollection, is what the creature looked like and how it acted as it came across the clearing directly towards me. My first impression was of a huge man, about 6 feet tall, almost 3 feet wide, and probably weighing somewhere near 300 pounds. It was covered from head to toe with a dark brown silver-tipped hair, but as it came closer, I saw by its breasts that it was a female. And yet its torso was not curved like a female's. Its broad frame was straight from shoulder to hip. Its arms were much thicker than a man's arms and longer, reaching almost to its knees. Its feet were broader proportionately than the man's, about 5 inches wide at the front and tapered to a much thinner heels. When it walked, it placed the heel of its foot down first, and I could see the gray-brown skin or hide on the soles of its feet. It came to the edge of the brush it was hiding in, within 20 feet of me, and squatted down on its haunches. Reaching out its hands, it pulled the branches of brushes toward it and stripped the leaves with its teeth. Its lip curled flexibly around the leaves as it ate. I was close enough to see that its teeth were white and even. The shape of the creature's head somewhat resembled a bear, but it had like a pointed head. The head was higher at the back than at the front. The nose was broad and flat. The lips and chin protruded further than its nose, or farther out than its nose, but the hair that covered it, leaving bare only the parts of its face around the mouth, nose, and ears. It made it resemble an animal as much as it did a human. None of this hair, even on the back of its head, was longer than an inch, and that on its face was much shorter. Its ears were shaped like a human's ears, but its eyes were small and black like a bear's, and its neck was also unhuman, thicker and shorter than any man's that I've ever seen. As I watched this creature, I wondered if some movie company was making a film at this place, and that what I saw was an actor, made up to look partly human and partly animal. But as I observed it move, I decided it would be impossible to fake such a specimen. Anyway, I learned later that there was no such company near that area, nor in fact did anyone live up in Mika Mountain, according to the people who lived in Tete. Finally, the wild thing must have got my scent, for it looked directly at me through an opening in the brush. A look of amazement crossed its face. It looked so comical at the moment I had to grin. Still in a crouched position, it backed up 3 or 4 short steps, then straightened up to its full height and it started to walk rapidly back the way it had come. For a moment, it watched me over its shoulder as it went, not exactly afraid, but as though it wanted no contact with anything strange. The first thought came to me that if I shot it, I would possibly have a specimen of great interest to scientists the world over. I had heard stories of the Sasquatch, the giant hairy Indians that live in the legends of British Columbia. As many Indians also claim, are still in fact alive today. Maybe this was a Sasquatch, I told myself. I leveled my rifle. The creature was still walking rapidly away, again turning its head to look in my direction. I lowered the rifle. Although I have called the creature it, I felt now that it was a human being, and I knew I would never forgive myself if I killed it. Just as I came to the other patch of brush, it threw its head back and made a peculiar noise that seemed to be half laugh and half language, and which I can only describe as a kind of whine. Then it walked from the small brush into a stand of lodgepole pine. I stepped out into the opening and looked across a small ridge just beyond the pine to see if I could see it again. It came out on the ridge a couple 100 yards away from me, tipped its head back again, and again emitted the only sound I heard it make. But what this half laugh, half language was meant to convey, I do not know. It disappeared then, and I never saw it again. I wanted to find out if it lived on vegetation entirely or ate meat as well. So I went down and looked for signs. I found it in 5 different places, and although I examined it thoroughly, could find no hair or shells or bugs or insects. So I believe it was strictly vegetarian. I found one more place it had slept for a couple of nights under a tree. Now the nights were cool up in the mountain, at this time of year especially, and yet had not used a fire. I found no sign that it possessed even the simplest of tools, not a single companion while in this place. Whether this was a Sasquatch I do not know. It will always remain a mystery to me, unless another one is found. I hereby declare the above statement to be in every part true, to the best of my powers of observation and recollection. Signed, William Rowe, from Ivan T. Sanderson, Abominable Snowman Legends Come to Life. Don't know why he makes reference of Michigan early in this, because this clearly was about Spokane, Washington, then Alberta. So I think it's because he was a small boy living in Michigan, then moved onward. But I, again, hope you enjoyed that classic, both classics. I found them, again, the more we delve into the history, I think the better understanding we get. There was a lot of description in this one. I really liked it, and it kind of reminds me of other stories that perhaps that we do get that we put out on the internet. So again, I hope you enjoyed that one. I certainly did. Again, you can look for another encounter from a subscriber or emailer, perhaps later today or maybe on Sunday. I had a lot of catching up to do. Please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. I appreciate and love each and every single one of you that tunes into these and shares me out. Again, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, I'm out. Have a great weekend.